evening, everybody. Welcome to Masterworks. My name is Jason Meyer. Tonight we're going to do something slightly different. We're not going to be analyzing paintings at all. We will be looking at paintings. But Susan had brought up a good point earlier this week in what is a masterwork? What makes a masterwork? Right? So I thought tonight we would go through a few authors, a few artists, and see what they had to say on, what does make a good painting? And how should you learn to do a good painting? So that's our theme tonight. So glad to see so many of you here. Good evening, Claudia, Miss Sue Nash, Shakti, and Susan. Welcome, everybody. So the three books in order that we're going to look at. The first one, quickly, we'll look at what Edgar Payne in his Composition of Outdoor Painting has to say about it. Then next, we're going to read from author Wesley Dow, his book Composition. And finally, we'll end tonight by seeing what Mr. LaFell has to say at the end of his book, An Artist Teaches, in relation to all of this. So I thought as I read, you guys could just have some beautiful art to look at. So my suggestion is to get nice and comfy and relax. And we're going to be talking about things that are pretty deep here. So try to open up and just let the words pour in as you experience these images and see if there isn't a connection made. What you'll notice is all three authors are saying very similar things. So we'll start with Edgar Payne's Composition of Outdoor Painting. So in chapter 2 on selection and composition, he says, good composition is always determined by good selection. Fine painting is a matter of proper taste and judgment in choosing the motive, accepting some parts, discarding others, and making changes and alterations throughout the procedure. In order to develop good taste and judgment in selecting, it is necessary to develop the feeling for artistic unity. So that seems a little slippery, doesn't it? So he says fine painting is a matter of proper taste and judgment. And then he goes on to say a little later, in order to develop good taste and judgment, it is necessary to develop the feeling of artistic unity. So now we're going to move over to author Wesley Dow's book, Composition. And in the chapter Beginnings, it says, in writing this book, my main purpose is to set forth a way of thinking about art. Composition, the putting together of lines, masses, and colors to make a harmony. Composition, building up of harmony, is the fundamental process in all the fine arts. Let's say that again. Composition, The building up of harmony is the fundamental process in all the fine arts. I hold that art should be approached through composition rather than through imitative drawing. Only through the appreciations does the composer recognize a harmony. Hence, the effort to find art structure resolves itself into a development of appreciation. So Edgar Payne said good judgment and here he's saying appreciation. He goes on to say, this approach to art through structure is absolutely opposed to the time-honored approach through imitation. Good drawing results from trained judgment, not from the making of facsimiles or maps. Train the judgment, and the ability to draw grows naturally. And then in color, he says color, with its infinity of relations, is baffling. Its finer harmonies, like those of music, can be grasped by the appreciations only, not by reasoning or analysis. The artist is not teaching successfully unless he points the way to appreciation, however hard or long it may be. Okay, so are we seeing some common themes here? Developing judgment, developing appreciation. That's one of the things that the Masterworks, actually the main thing that the Masterworks program is made for, is to expose us to all of these great works of art, so they can kind of seep into our nervous system, so we can begin to recognize great harmonies and great patterns, fine relations. So I'm going to have to throw a wrench into things here, because the second part of the program is an ebook. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at our ebook. So this comes from An Artist Teaches, Reflections on the Art of Painting by David Leffel. This is part 3, Reflections on the Art of Painting. So we'll start with this. A painting is comprised of materials and intentions. The intent or intentions are a profile of the painter. Every aspect of a painting is a reflection of that intent. A good painting is a reflection of a strong concept, consistency of thought throughout every element, every brushstroke of the painting. Every stroke should have a purpose. Every painting is a self-portrait. It is a mirror of not only the painter's understanding of the craft, but also the painter's discernment and insight. The more cultivated the concept, the more one's life is contained in every brushstroke, and each is a reflection of the painter's acumen, grace, refinement, and view of life. Even the nervous system of the painter is on display. Timidity or assuredness can be read. One sees like a tracker, reading the evidence of the choice of solutions, the struggle, and or the elegance of the resolution betrays the painter's level of understanding. All these factors, even the choice of frame, come into play in response of the viewer to the painting. This response is akin to like minds or personalities meeting in empathy or sympathetic vibration, or with like energies. The viewer or potential buyer's response is not haphazard. It is the same as ours. There may be added some minimal randomity, but for the most part, the response is arguably ordained. And he has admitted to completely making up that word, randomity. Randomity. I have trouble with words anyway, but that one I got an excuse. He made it up. And finally, on a lower perceptual level, the subject matter alone may be the determinant factor in the response. On a higher level, the appreciation is finer, more abstract. It is the appreciation of the underlayment of the subject matter, the layer that expresses universality and timelessness. In each instance, the artist, painter's commitment, perception, sensibility, etc., are what elicits the responses of the viewer and deepens the dialogue. I know it's a little bit deep, but if you want to know what makes a good painting, it's not such an easy question to answer. So this is going to be the last page that we read, and then we'll finish up by looking at a few more photographs. But let's see what the thoughts are on this page. David goes on, under paintings as a discipline. People study painting. They want to learn how to paint. This seems to imply that there is a way, what some may call a method, to do it. This also seems to imply that some ways are better than other ways. One might argue that there are only different ways, due to different schools, impressionistic, plein air, representational, etc. But allowing for each of the above, within each school, one finds there are better solutions for each problem, as well as weaker ones. And that self-expression is a rather inadequate solution, fulfilling only an egoistic manner. Fulfilling only in an egoistic manner does not really enhance one's sense of life and unity. Always paint your intention. One is composing with every brushstroke. Every brushstroke is furthering the composition, not just by completing the painting, but by creating it. As pearls reflect the string, so do the brushstrokes reflect the composition, the artist's intention. One is always painting one's taste. Every brushstroke is a reflection of that taste or sensitivity. The choice of color and intensity, the range of value, edges, and paint quality are consciously or subconsciously the response of the painter's nervous system to stimuli. Therefore, to find out how to paint, one must pay attention to these responses. One must see the fact that one is not copying reality. The reality that some schools attempt to copy is already conditioned by expectations. It is an illusion to believe reality can be copied per se. It is all a matter of what and how one chooses to see. It is all a matter of what and how one chooses to see. Therefore, taste and aesthetic and paying attention are of paramount importance. Each and every brushstroke, what, how, why, reflects the acumen and understanding of the perpetrator. Good painting is consistency of thought. Every stroke should have a purpose. Bad painting is a lot of waste and excess due to a lack of clarity or lack of a concept. That which is left out is as telling as that which is included. And in art, what is included should form a consistent structural unity, wholeness. Every piece of color, value, edge, impasto, the drawing, composition, movement, should advance the cause, the concept of the painting. In understanding, there is no excess. So since that was so heavy, deep, and dense, why don't we just take a few minutes to let that soak in, and as it does, we'll scroll through a few paintings here. So that was a little bit different for tonight. You guys will have to let me know what you thought. But the takeaway for me is that the only way you're going to be able to ever finish a painting, to create a good painting, is to recognize harmony, to recognize unity. So along with the work, we've also got to investigate our thoughts, our feelings, our taste, and those that have done it the best before us. So when I first heard this, it was very hard to grasp. But at this point, I can see the truth in it. There's no one thing that will save you. Values, edges, color, paint quality, design, composition, drawing. But recognizing how whatever you do, however much or however little, you do it for the purpose of creating a harmony. And when you can hold that, and when you can carry that through the painting, then that's when we're talking about good. So thank you guys so much. Mr. Tom, good to see you. Good to see you. What a wonderful bedtime story. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you like it. Thank you, dear Jason. Oh, thank you, Shakti. Shakti is a master herself. A master herself. Thank you. So thank you, everybody. I will be back in the morning for some morning jump start feedback for students at 8 a.m. right here on YouTube. So you guys are welcome to tune in then, and we've got Sketch Club tomorrow night before we've got a class on Friday morning. So rest well, everybody, and I hope to see you in the morning. Thank you. Love you guys. Good night.